Welcome everyone to our weekly live. This is Prepper Talk Radio. This is the month of May 2024. We got a lot of people popping in, and this is exciting. We we like to do this once a month, kind of cover the news, what's going on, world events, things that may or may not affect you. But also, it's a great time because it's live and because our group's involved. You can stream on YouTube or you can stream us on our Facebook group or our Facebook page. You can connect with us and share what you're learning, what you're seeing, and we can discuss that as a group. So it makes for a fun, engaging evening. As usual, I am Scott, and we got Shane here in the house. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm always good, whether I'm good or not. So
I'm good even when I'm bad.
That's right. It's all about attitude.
Well, we are missing Paris tonight. He's off on another engagement, actually speaking at another event online, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, learning some public speaking. So something we should all do. I'm not afraid of public speaking. I'm afraid of public embarrassment. I that's my biggest fear, I should say. And so what am I even doing on here? I better just shut my trap.
Well, the nice thing is you're doing it from a room in a hidden location, far away from the faces. But except for when we're live, then everyone can see us. So it's kind of fun.
Nothing we can do about that. So.
Guys, tonight I want to remind you we are excited to share with you our sponsors, the groups that we work with, the companies that we like. Tonight we're going to talk about what's going on in the world, but this episode is brought to you by our friends over at survivalfrog.com. Yeah, hop on over, check out their food, their meats. It's all cooked. It's good for 25 years. It's fantastic. I've got some. I've eaten a lot of it. I need to get some more. But also they've got some other cool stuff over there, some really good kit items that you should probably be having, especially with the rainy season upon us. Get some of those water bags to keep things dry. Fantastic. I love mine. I did a video. I've got to post that so you guys can see it and see how well these things work. But tonight, as we get going, don't forget to use our code PrepperTalk, all one word, and save 10% on their site. Plus, they stack bonuses on there. So if you've got other discounts they're running, you'll see them all stack up there. Cool. Again, that's survivalfrog.com. Man, okay. So our last episode, which will be our next episode, this is so weird the way we do it, is we talked about tornadoes. There's crap tons of tornadoes going on. There's the weather in Houston that's nuts. There are things going on all over the world. I mean, there's the U.S. has a temporary pier they put up out near Gaza to help with the Palestinian support, and that's been smashed and destroyed by the storms. There's crazy things going on. I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of it, and we want to hear what you guys are talking about as well. But thank you, everyone, first of all, for joining in. We've got a huge group already this early in the show. That's a fantastic sign.
Yeah, we want to hear what you guys are concerned about, what you're hearing in the news, because it honestly is there's just too much to keep track of. I just heard about the pier, the dock that the U.S. built just being destroyed, and I'm like, that figures, just that absolutely figures. And like you said, Scott, we're talking about tornadoes. Weather's been pretty crazy, not just throughout the Midwest and Texas in particular. Look on the weather app, and it looks like there's still 400,000 homes with 313,000 homes without, down to 280. Okay, 280. There's my little app I show you guys all the time. The poweroutage.us, and most of this throughout the Midwest, you see the states going yellow or orange or red. It's weather related, and there's been a lot lately. And so, weather is a big deal, and I'm a weather watcher. I do it all the time for my own benefit, my family here at home, and it's really about convenience, right? Because in Utah, we don't have a whole lot of threats for weather. It's more earthquake, but it can be inconvenient to not be prepared for bad weather. And I've got a simple example, but I think it's good practice to stay, be a watchman on the wall, to watch the weather. I think that's good practice. And that way, people can learn to rely on you, because I think most people are oblivious even to the weather. Like when they walk outside and like your kids, you tell your kids, take a jacket. Nah, I don't want to take a jacket. It's warm. It's not always going to be warm. It could, things could happen. So I'm always prepared. Of course, needless to say, I've got, I always have a jacket, whether it's summer or anytime. Anyway, weather is a big deal to me. And so I watch and we watch the space weather as well. That big, what is the big spot on the sun is coming back around for some more potential kill shots, right? It's coming back around. It's just getting exposed again. And it's still big. So I'm rambling.
Well, it's funny, like you bringing up the flare, right? The sunspot and other things that could happen, right? We just had all the northern lights going nuts, which
HAARP.
Some of you guys could see. Definitely HAARP. There's also, we had Ben from Suspicious Observers on years ago. He's got a pretty cool app, Suspicious Observers. Search for that. He does tons of weather reporting on space weather, right? What that means, like what the sun's going to do, how it affects us, and where it's going to affect. So pretty cool stuff. But it is so important to be aware of what's going on, but not afraid of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the world gets it wrong, and preppers seem to get it right. As a new prepper, most people are more panicked, and that's where they kind of get in line and like, oh, what about this and what about that? And I gotta, and they panic about what do I do next? And we've got resources in the group, Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance. We've got resources on our website, preppertalkradio.com. Check those out. But we're here to help alleviate some of those fears and help you have a plan. Planning will resolve a lot of things, but the unknown, things that could happen in an instant and catch you off guard. But the better prepared you are, the more resilient you're going to be to anything.
Yeah. Well, there's a few things that I saw in the news that I'm not sure I could prepare much for, that, that I'm calling the peak of lunacy right now. I think, you see peaks in the stock markets, and, honestly, I think we've hit that too. And in Bitcoin, whatever, of course, that's just my speculation. But I think we've hit peak freaking lunacy in the world, and it's just only down from here. Let me explain to you what I'm thinking, what I've seen. Tell me, you guys, if you've seen this and what your thoughts were. When I first heard this story, it just blew me away. I mean, okay. Northrop Grumman has been awarded the contract to study or to come up with a concept for a lunar railroad.
Yeah,
what?
I saw that.
What? Are you kidding me? A lunar rail? Why would you even consider? Of course, those of us who are deniers of the moon landing and all that space crap. Is this just to continue to propagate the lies and the image of, oh yeah, we went to the moon and we're the only one? I said U.S. I hate assuming that I am we, the U.S., right? So I try to avoid saying that, but that the U.S. actually went to the moon. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's just one story.
Wait, do you remember this was years ago? Do you remember they were talking about creating a space elevator?
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, but that was pretty cool though. That was like with carbon. Oh, what is it?
Carbon
nanofilament, nanotubes. Yeah,
nanofilament. Yeah. So, first of all, yeah, right. Second of all, if the moon is running at a different speed than the Earth is, how are we going to have a lunar
elevator
train going to that? Like,
I don't know. It makes no sense, and I think anyone who is thinking clearly, yes, please, that why would you even consider? I mean, again, it's got to be part of the psyop, right? To say, oh, this is an actual real thing, so we're actually going to build a train. Consider building a train, a railroad on the moon. It's just unbelievable to me.
Well, it's funny because WebDad just posted, and I agree 100% with this. This is where I was thinking. I'm like,
no, that's true. Yeah.
Please understand that some of these crazy projects. Whoops, I'm going to try to share that. Share that again. There we go. Some of these crazy projects are really a means to fund non-visible operations.
Great point. Right? Yeah, great point.
And that is so many. Like, if you look at anything going on in Congress, they stack in every single bill some way to fund some weird shenanigans they've done. Yeah, they pork everything. They fatten everything up so they can reload their pockets. That is a really great point. Thank you, WebDad.
Yeah. Well, here's another one that also shows me peak lunacy. Is there's a company, and I didn't write it down, and I know that they've been exploring this for possibility for a while, maybe 7 or 8 years now, is actually to perform a head transplant, to be able to perform head transplants, and of course because of all the benefits of of course, they haven't figured out how to regenerate the spinal nerves and make those connections. And if they could do that, they would probably be able to fix those problems of paraplegics in the first place and not have the need for a head transplant. But it just, where do people even think about? Why do they even think about these things? They got nothing else to do but think about this lunacy? It makes no sense to me.
All these ideas go back to like 1980s and 1990s movies. Like,
no, that's true.
Total Recall. I mean, there's Face Off. Like you can.
Oh yeah,
get into all those.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that. Oh, I can.
There's a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But there's so much that's absolute fantasy.
And
thank you, Kat.
That's part of the reason I didn't write this website down, because I could not just depictions they show on there about of how they would perform the head transplant. I am queasy that way. I couldn't even look into that. And then with Face Off as well. Yeah, that movie. I can't watch it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's talk some real news, things that are going on. So if you've been living under a rock, or maybe just not watching the news, this is one that goes back to a lot of the things we've talked about over the last few months in our news lives. We've talked about the silent invasion that's happening in the United States. And one of the little things that sparked off my curiosity and brought back this is, have you guys seen what happened in North Carolina and Virginia recently with the undocumented invader who was targeting, I believe it was a colonel,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and was then taken out by said colonel on his own private property, right? All they could really tie this guy to was he was living in Chicago in one of these buildings that's paid for by basically the DNC, right? So looking at that and saying, okay, there are these groups, there are people who are getting in here nefariously through the border. I am not shocked that this happened, but we need to be more aware and more prepared for that. We had an episode a few months back on active shooters and things you can do to prepare for that and be better aware. More importantly than anything is situational awareness. If you are blind to what's going on around you, you are in danger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But this is exactly the thing that we've talked about. On a small scale, it's a single incident, but what's to stop a bigger incident from coming? And so it's just something to be aware of, not to panic over, but to be aware of.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's consistently in the news. And I say the news, I don't watch mainstream. It's all, the YouTubes, the alternative media that are actually, bringing these things to light, things that are actually happening, and trying to be as sensitive as possible and not get censored and so forth, because we have seen some things pop up on our Facebook and YouTube about kind of warnings. So be careful. Someone has identified some of your content that you shared as not true, as fake. It's fake, false, whatever. So anyway, I try not to go there. We could definitely go there for those of you who are aware and wonder why maybe we don't talk about those conspiracies as much. Because I think, first of all, there's plenty of other people out there that are talking about those types of things. And we'd like to talk about more useful, right? We're about preparing, about being preparers rather than just conspiracy theorists, which we are. I mean, absolutely we are. At least I am. I won't talk for Scott or Paris, but I'm pretty sure they are too. But
I don't know where
we're in danger. Yeah.
No,
we're in danger. There's no doubt about it. And we don't want to be the fear mongers either. That's also part of, we want to uplift and inspire, but definitely need to have your head on a swivel for those types of things. Obviously where I live, I'm not seeing those kinds of things happening, trying to be observant. And I think that's where I think, a lot of people wonder, well, how could this be true? I don't see that happening in my neck of the woods. I don't see this happening here or there. And go ahead and address that, Scott.
Well, no, we don't see things happening in our neck of the woods. We don't expect certain things to happen, but it's always good to be aware.
Mm-hmm.
Kat brought up this point, and so that's why I want to share this. It's like she had a professional self-defense teacher come to her church. You guys, it's so easy to get these guys to come to your church, to your groups to teach. Like my wife did this a few years ago. It's funny because she was the emergency preparedness coordinator for our neighborhood. Then I became the emergency preparedness coordinator for our neighborhood. And then now a new guy has taken over, and I've been off duty for like 2 months. And now I'm a block captain again.
Well, of course,
you're
the natural choice for that. I would choose you as my block captain as well.
What's funny is they didn't realize when they asked me, they're like, have you ever had any experience in this? I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like,
Do you know who I am?
I was the coordinator up until 2 months ago. And they're like, oh, well, we're new, so we don't know. And I'm like, yeah. So, and here's my background. Yeah. I love this stuff, but people in my neighborhood, there's a lot of us very prepared, and the rest are very ignorant of not wanting to learn. So it's kind of weird.
Well, and I think a lot of these churches are resistant to this type of preparedness. I don't know, they and I'm speaking from personal experience here, right? Is it's always about, let's talk about, and I don't mean to downplay, let's talk about Jesus. Let's talk about forgiveness. Let's talk about, the basics. Because honestly, most people need to hear that. I need to hear it every day. But that's one of the reasons why we do what we do here, because others aren't doing it. And I think churches in particular are, for some reason, resistant to doing exactly that. I don't see any reason why not. Hey, let's bring in a self-defense. We know a couple of good friends who would be happy to come and teach knife fighting or self-defense moves or whatever, and to our church groups. And it's not popular enough. It's not very popular, at least in what I'm seeing. And
yeah,
it's a shame.
And it's not the sexy and exciting thing that everyone wants to do. Oh, we're going to go paintballing. Okay, let's do that, but let's tweak it so that we can actually learn a valuable take-home lesson, right? Oh, like for my wife, when she did the self-defense thing, we actually used Stan Pruitt with Urban Survivors, who's local here in Utah. He'll travel all over the state and even out of the state to go help. So if you're interested, check out Urban Survivors on YouTube.
Here in Utah,
on Facebook, you can connect with them. He is fantastic. We also have Todd Nielsen. Mm-hmm. He has got a ton of resources and some new things coming over on his website. But you can refer back to our last interview with him. He's a phenomenal guy. I just really appreciate him. But find local guys and invite them to come, because here's what's going to happen. They'll come, they'll teach, and they'll win some customers for their business. It helps their business. That's why they want to get out and help as much as possible. So learning those things, like use the news as a good way to get people to be excited about that type of activity in your church, right? In your community, wherever you can be. But yeah, there's, again, thinking about the world and what's going on, there's a lot to try to be aware of and up on, but what are we seeing that's not being talked about enough, or maybe is being talked about too much?
Well, I think another big thing we see a lot in the news, let us know if you guys are seeing this, which I assume you are, is just the threat of another pandemic, right? That the bird flu that we all know, and I'm speaking for myself, but I say we all know that the tests are all fake, right? They're using the PCR test, which is inaccurate and not meant to be used for what they're using it for. And so they're exaggerating this I'm going to say pandemic, it's another one, but there's always the concern, and it's a little bit in the back of my mind. Okay, is this a real one this time, right? Is this actually going to be something that's truly engineered? And there's even FDA even says that, there's potential 25% kill rate in humans, that it's changing and actually cows are being infected in humans. It's mutating in the field. And so I can't confirm any of this. I don't know. I say Kat says, yes, local hospital has warning community. And so obviously some of that is for genuine concern, and some, it's definitely about fear and control. And so, and another thing that, I want to talk about with WebDad here is he had a great question. We posted on our page is how do you know the truth of what we're hearing? And we need to take a whole segment and talk about that here in the future. But it is very confusing. And I mean, that's part of this topic of talking about the news and recap around the world. Is so much news out there. How do you know what to trust? And where do you get good news sources? In short, I don't think you can. I have no confidence at this
there's
point.
people you might find online that are good news sources that are independents. One of the sources that I use, I'll refer to, and then I'll do more digging from, is the Associated Press, because they're less motivated to make stuff up. But then once it goes to the different outlets, then it gets modified and changed a lot. So I'll oftentimes look back at the Associated Press and then I'll compare it to other resources that I'm finding online. But it's like, as an example, for educational purposes, looking at what's going on with the bird flu, if you're looking for information on it and you do a Google search, Google's going to send you to where first? The CDC.
Mm-hmm.
And the top 9 selections on their search are going to be CDC website resources. Well, what did we learn from the last issue?
They're liars, is what we learned.
That all the data is incorrect. So we have to look for other resources and look in other ways. One of the outcomes of the pandemic was that a lot of people who didn't get the jibby jab were terminated from employment. And I follow a bunch of nurses. There's a bunch of lawsuits going on about this, where their hospitals, some of them are involved with some Shriner hospitals, some of them are involved with Kaiser Permanente, huge lawsuits because they were let go because their exemption wasn't allowed. And now they've been receiving letters saying, hey, we'd like to hire you back. Sorry about that.
I'm seeing where a lot of these papers, these studies that were that came out during the last pandemic, are actually being retracted, and it's not making much news, not making much noise. The truth is coming out, but people are so brainwashed and so MK Ultra, whatever you want to call it. Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud on YouTube, but that it's really, really tricky to know what to say and what to believe. But it's anyway, just be aware of that, and there's other things. I read another article about this Ebola type virus over in Europe that's starting to make, and I didn't write it down, I forget what it's called, but where you can bleed out your eyes and such. So it's Ebola like and whatever. But it's partially about public awareness, but I think a lot about fear as well. But anyway, what else we got out there? What else do you guys want to talk about here?
Before we leave the bird flu,
all right.
This is legitimately sad. Like bird flu related like 3 hours ago, the news broke that alpacas in Idaho have been affected by the avian flu.
And again, you're using the PCR test, right?
But no, alpacas, guys.
That's super sad. Scott
That's
loves
my
alpacas.
favorite kind animal out there.
But the thing about this is that it is working toward their agenda. That's where I'm so concerned about, I guess, is I'm so skeptical about that, because it's cutting down on the beef and the chicken. There are food sources, and that's a big thing that's in the news as well. I don't know if we should even get into that either, but it's like Kat says, scare tactics,
Yeah.
And so
we also got to watch out, because in Virginia they're saying some squirrels have been affected.
Of course.
As well as some harbor seals, red foxes, coyotes,
deer,
fishers, dolphins, gray seals, black bears. There's so many,
but there can be no symptoms in some cases, right? When we've heard that before, right? There could be these symptoms, but there could be no symptoms. So make sure you get tested. Anyway,
right? Okay, so is a bear going to walk up to you and tell you they can't taste something, or that they got sniffles attributed to something? So they're going to use a fake test that they used on everybody else to try to get them to create a news narrative, to try to create panic, as Kat said, scare people into compliance, right? There's so much going on that's more likely to happen, or more
Yeah.
important to
No,
be aware
yeah,
of.
absolutely.
Right. Bird flu.
Absolutely.
Come on.
All right.
So
Cool.
I want to
No,
talk about.
yeah.
Did you're eager? I don't
Oh,
want
no,
to.
I was going to say, of course, I'm eager about this topic in particular, of course, gold and silver, right? Just see what's happened the last couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, even month, where it's going. It broke 30 and then 31 and quickly into 32 and back down again to 30s, and now it's back above 32 for silver in particular, right? And gold, it touched a new high as well and back down a little bit again. And and it's kind of exciting. I'm happy about it. I think it should be doing a lot more. It's still manipulated. We're still seeing the signs that it's manipulated, but I think we're seeing signs that they, of course, air quotes, they are losing control. Those who manipulate them with paper contracts and so forth, is that it's starting to break the system. That's what my hope is. I have no proof of it, but other than what I'm seeing, what I feel, that system is starting to break. And man, the governments and over in the east, they are buying gold and silver like crazy.
Mhm.
The banks, the people of China, the people of India are just buying up silver, and that's one of the reasons why we're seeing silver go up dramatically right now. I wouldn't say dramatically; it's going up. I think eventually we will see a dramatic increase, and I don't think this is dramatic. Some people say it is, and I'm like, no, not yet. No, it's going to do a lot more.
When you can jump on our YouTube, guys, YouTube Prepper Talk Radio. YouTube at Prepper Talk Radio. But if you jump on there, our episode last week, we actually showed you some of the charts on what's going on. So it's kind of interesting to follow. Definitely take a look, see what's going on in the market. Costco selling coldbacks. That is interesting. We'll have to do some research. If one of you can find out, post that on here. We'd love to hear about that. Also, did you see that news that the Congress passed a bill that prohibits the Fed from creating a CBDC?
I'll show
without their express permission, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
now we are seeing that they're moving towards this, but it has to be authorized by Congress, which tells us Congress is triggering the switch. We know that the systems have been being built for years. They're working on everything in a rollout. It'll be an overnight thing. I know it. And the thing is, when that happens, Congress will flip the switch. Just like when they do all these midnight votes, we won't be aware of it. We won't be involved with it. They'll do it behind closed doors, behind our backs, because they're traitors.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things you watch for, these little things. And it's like the news headlines like, oh, they stopped them. Well, no, they caveated them.
Mm-hmm.
They controlled the rollout. That's what you need to be aware of. That's what you need to watch for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will gold and silver go jumping through the roof when that happens? I can almost guarantee that, because people are going to be searching for hard assets.
And it'll be too late. Just like everything else, you've got to be early. You got to be early to bug out. You got to be early to get the things you need, because when you get to the point of where it's you actually need them, you're not going to be able to get it. So, yeah, exactly. WebDad, brass and lead have gotten a lot more reasonable. They're still a lot more expensive since before before 2020. Still a lot more expensive now, but they've definitely come down a lot, no doubt about that. And I'm happy with that. But it's still expensive to go shooting, as much as I would like. Still a little bit cost prohibitive to go shooting as much as I would like to do.
All the more reason to go paintballing and do laser tag at the local place to practice your skills and drills and keep aware.
Yeah.
Right. Plus, get your kids involved.
Dry firing.
Dry firing. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting because I'm watching some of the news. I try not to watch most of it, because there is so much of it that's misinformation or just specifically designed to keep you in a state
programming.
Of panic, right? It's that programming. It's that MK Ultra. But I am interested to see what happens, because Russia's pulling a lot of stunts right now. Right? Their threats to use nuclear weapon, and the U.S. is like, oh yeah, well, just show me, flex. Right? They're doing a flex off to see who's gonna actually do something. I don't really think either of them are going to do it, but there's a lot of news around it. So my question is, why? Why is there so much press talking about it? Why is there so much press pushing certain topics in the news, like the pro-Palestinian viewpoint in the news, which is huge, pro-Palestinian movement across all the campuses and the universities, as opposed to let's look at the full news, let's look at the full story and see both sides.
Well, and that's also part of the confusion as well. There's pro-Palestinian, there's pro-Israel. Unless you really do your homework and come up with your own ideas and thoughts and opinions on that in particular, you're going to be easily swayed by the most convincing person. And not something I want to get into. I don't think it'd be a good topic here, honestly, but to get into those kinds of details. But it is like I want to talk about in a future episode here, is that how do we know the truth between what the two is? Well, there's partial truth in both sides, and there's partial lies in both sides. So we can't just choose left or right. We can't just choose one side or the other to be on. And that's what they want us to do, right? That's why we only have two choices as political parties. Technically we have more, but it's either left or right. There's a lot more choices than that, honestly. So
yeah.
But yeah, like Mike was saying here, digital funds, and that's something I know that Paris wanted us to bring up and talk about. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here, Scott, hijacking your topic here.
Nope, that's part of the whole Russian rollout right now. So
cool. Well, yeah, and Australia, that there's one bank, and it's kind of started over there. One bank, and I think they've already gone cashless, where they and I think it's already started, or it's going to start here shortly. But then, and I did not read that article that Paris was going to forward over to us. And let me see if I don't think he forwarded that to us. But talking about Australia using digital currencies is do you have that, Scott?
Yeah. So basically, they've actually already set it up so that they have a deadline for when this goes live. I can't find the article, but he did send it over. But basically, that they have a deadline, they know when it's going to be, and they're preparing their nation for it. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Like, will we get the same kind of rollout? I don't believe we will, because of the way our Congress works. But also at the same time, it's like we are using digital currency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Majority of all of our transactions are digital. We're not far away, but I try to use cash wherever possible to try to push let's get back to a cash society. Is it an uphill battle? Yeah. Am I losing? 100%.
Yeah.
But for the same reason, I don't do my own checkout whenever I go grocery shopping. Right?
Do tell.
I don't. Why would I go do digital? Why would I go do
go to a self-checkout, not go to self-checkout.
I don't work there.
Right. I see what you're saying.
It's funny because I'll go to the grocery store and everyone will be going through self-checkout, and then there's 3 cashiers standing there with nothing to do. And I'm like, dude, they're going to lose their job. We're already paying for their service in the price that we're buying the food for. So might as well let them work, right? Might as well support my local economy and support my neighbors. But wherever I can use cash, cash is legal tender. We use digital currency as legal tender, even though I don't know that it is. It's just what the banks have made it easy for us to use. That's an area I should probably do some studying on.
Yeah. And definitely with this digital currency, I think, you're absolutely right. We're already on a digital currency. It's just the matter of getting rid of the dollars, right? Getting the paper currency, and that the transition from the US dollar to the US digital dollar will be seamless. We won't even notice it. Maybe it's already happened. They're just letting some dollars sit out there because they've been implementing it and practicing it and having the banks run through their scenarios and drills and whatever. And we may very well already be on a U.S. digital currency. And like you say, we really are. But there will be some slight differences. I think when that's fully implemented, we won't have cash dollars to spend. So,
well, it's interesting because it's like watching the news, watching what's going on. Like a lot of companies have been pulling out of Russia for a while, and Russia was like, fine, whatever. But now Russia's kicking out other companies, right? So, like, according to Reuters, they voted to get rid of American Express. They're forcing liquidation of all these other companies in the financial sector and that are American-based companies, right? So it's like, it's interesting to see and watch, because it's like, okay, as these countries get less and less dependent on the U.S., the volatility of the U.S. dollar is getting greater and greater. Just from an economic standpoint, the higher the volatility or the less dependence on it, the less need, the less value. So it's like, what is the reality and what's really going to happen? What are we going to see?
Yeah.
And I look back at what happened in Rome.
That's confusing as well, because I hear a lot about the need for dollars worldwide, that there's a shortage of dollars. And that's why the dollar keeps going up. Of course, you can't see it there. We're at 105.15, went up just slightly today. But I mean, that's still pretty high. Of course, that's the dollar compared to other currencies, and the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry basket, right? And there's, of course, the dollar milkshake theory, where the dollar is going to continue to rise, and that's what's going to cause it to crash, right? It's not going to be, it's going to drop down into the 80s and 70s and 60s and have no value. There's still a high demand for it, but there are, many countries who are actively saying, we are getting away from the dollar, and they're making it happen. And they're making it happen quickly. I still hear a lot of commentaries on, it's just going to take 5 or 10 years for this to happen. I really don't think so. I think it's going to be like an avalanche. It goes slowly, and then all of a sudden, and then it's over with, and we're done. So that's a huge topic.
Makes me think of the Pacific Shelf. Like, when you go to the Pacific Ocean, that water's cold, right? And the tide forces seem so much stronger than the East Coast. Well, that's because of the shelf, right? It's shallow for a little bit, and then it drops way off, and that's where you're screwed. And I think that's how it's going to be with our financial situation. Is we're waiting out in the water. We're like, this could be bad. This could be bad. And then the riptide hits, and it's like, shelf drop off. Goodbye, and everything goes nuts. But absolutely, it's going to be orchestrated to keep the elite's financial situation strong.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just commenting here.
Oh, you're good. Hey, what's up, Garrett? Welcome to the show.
Hey,
your brother is MIA. He's on. You probably already know where he is, but yeah, thanks for being here. Utah Mike's been having some really good points. Who pays those employees? We're talking about one of the things I do is make sure that the store I go through I don't use self checkout to try to keep people employed. When you do curbside pickup, they're forced to do more things with employees. Who pays for those employees? We end up paying for it. We're paying for it already in the price of food. That's part of it. But the operating costs of the store, they found that less and less people want to be in the store. This gives us more and more ability to keep them employed and keep people working because they already have that overhead either way. Might as well have them doing something rather than standing in a checkout line that's not being used.
Yeah,
is my personal opinion.
Well, that's what I do at Home Depot as well, right? Because I hate pushing around a cart and getting some 2x4s here and some plywood there, and then having to leave it and walk over here, walk over it. I just order it online, and then it's ready for me to walk it out to my car. So I think that's
brilliant. I've never even thought of that
is.
at Home Depot and Lowe's.
Yeah, it's such a pain.
I'm there all the time for minor repairs around the house and things that I'm working on for the house to get it ready to sell. But like 2 weekends ago, I was all about the sprinklers. This last winter destroyed all my valves. So like a dummy, I was at Lowe's 6 different times getting things because, I found out while I'm repairing this that there's another break in the line over here, and then I got to get a piece for that, and I got to dig this up, right? And so
I'm always there. Yeah, I'm there all the time.
That was my rude, wide awake. Like, hey, when you move more rural, you can't just do this and drop everything, drive 10 minutes to get everything you need.
Yeah.
You got to be better prepared for that and better aware of what's going on. And it's like, increase my stockpile, right?
Drop it in your shopping cart at Home Depot and then just go pick it up, right?
Yeah, anyway. Drive an hour to go pick it up.
Where I'll be. Yeah, exactly. So I guess another thing I'm concerned about that I'm seeing a lot about in the news, air quotes, is China, Taiwan, Russia, of course, Russia, Ukraine, obviously, but also Russia, NATO, Russia, France. Some big topics, right? With the NATO and other countries now saying, "Oh, we should use the U.S. weapons they provided to actually launch attacks into Russia." And Putin came out, I think today, did a press conference and say, if that happens, there's going to be consequences. I don't remember exact words, but it's that situation, those situations, including China and Taiwan, continue to ramp up and continue to build up. There's no reprieve. It's not back. They're not backing down. They just continues to get more and more tense and get closer to. And of course, you hear this all the time. World War III. You hear that talk all the time. Are we there yet? When is it going to happen? And all kinds of headlines about that. So I think that's a big hot topic right now. Is World War III that's been thrown out for a couple of years now. It really has been, but it's not getting any better.
I feel like we've been talking about World War III potentiality for almost a decade.
Well, since the Wolverines, right? Since Red Dawn 1984, is that what it was?
Okay,
yeah.
So I'll sit them aside. I think there's been, especially in the world of prepping, like we've probably been talking about it 30, 40 years since before Red Dawn. But like, yeah, there's definitely more and more talk about it. And that is something that we're watching and trying to be aware of. But yeah, the Jammer WV is talking about the Doomsday Clock. They did move it again.
Did they move it again? I'm just checking here.
Yeah. But while you're looking at that, like what's going on with Ukraine, what's going on with Russia, what's going on with all the NATO countries around Russia, what's going on with China and Taiwan, like these have been conversations with different countries for the last 20, 30 years. And it seems like it's always changing. But I don't recall a time in history in my lifetime where it's been this many parties involved.
That we can see that we're being told about, right? That we don't see what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, and we do have indicators. Like if you look at what's going on with the BRICS nations, right? Those alliances, their movements in different forms of currency, gold backed, that's huge. Then we look at what's going on with companies being allowed to operate in different countries. As those are restricted out based on their headquarters, it's verifiable. You can see what's going on, but those are indicators as well. One I like to watch is mission work in other countries.
Okay.
Regardless of what church or religion you belong to, if you're watching missionaries being evacuated from countries preemptively, that means something's really going on there that we're not being told. Or if they're sending less people there than usual. And so I'll watch reports from that from time to time, especially since our church is really heavily involved in missionary work. But watching that and watching those things change is a good indicator to keep aware of.
Hey, Jammer, can you put that in the chat? I can't seem to find the 30 seconds to midnight. Sorry, Scott.
No, you're good. But I like to find like weird sources for truth as much as I can. You're non-mainstream.
No, totally.
But like if you look at in the agricultural world and see what's going on with your food, your meats, and watch the prices there, you can see what's trending. And when you watch the news and they say, oh, this many birds are going to be killed in this area, and if the price really doesn't change, then the story isn't about the price and the availability. It's about something else. And I think that's one thing I've been learning more and more over the last decade and a half is if this story doesn't align with the reality of what's going on in the market, there's a false shift they're trying to push, or false narrative they're trying to push. So just be aware for that. And I love WebDad, thank you. The Bible clearly states that we should always be prepared for his return. His should be capital H. I know what you're saying, but I like to point that out because there's only one him. We as a prepared people, we as whether you're a Christian or something else, like we need to get right with God. Let's be honest, because God promised us that He will use the wicked to destroy the wicked.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing all these weird, wacky things, and it's more than anything to their own destruction. Jammer's posting, for those of you saying 90 seconds.
Yeah, I think they only post do that change once a year. I think they did that just in January.
Yeah, January 23rd is the last time they changed it.
But no, I would say you're more correct. 30 seconds is definitely more accurate than 90 seconds. And I've heard a lot of people make similar comments like, no, we're a lot closer than 90 seconds. For whatever that actually means. It's their interpretation.
So the last major movements were in 2012, 5 minutes to midnight. 2015, 3 minutes to midnight. 2017, 2.5 minutes to midnight. 2018, 2 minutes to midnight. 2020, 100 seconds to midnight. And 2023, 90 seconds to midnight. Like, what's the difference? Like, why do they switch it to 100 seconds? How's that any better than, or 90 seconds? How's that any better than a minute 30?
Yeah.
Like, weird. I don't know why.
And who are these people anyway, But
yeah, it's another piece of maybe that doesn't matter information, but
yeah.
At the end of the day, the reason why I wanted to have this episode was just to kind of keep you aware of what's going on without being fearful of what's going on. Using the information that we're seeing in the news to help motivate you to be better prepared. Our goal here at Prepper Talk Radio is not to be doomsdayers, not to be panic or fear mongering in any way, shape, or form. Our goal is to help you find solutions and to help you find peace. There is absolute peace in preparedness. There's absolute peace in having a plan, a primary and a backup plan. That's what we coach to. That's what we talk to. That's what we teach in our groups and with all of our resources. We're going to be dropping some more resources here pretty soon on some planning guides that I've been working on for a couple of years that I finally am like, you know what, let's get it done. So I've been hustling on those to get those ready for you guys. But the key here is get your house in order. Get your preps in order, get your plan in order. And the best way to do that is with a group of ready-minded, like-minded individuals. So make sure you join our group, Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance. We have a lot of fun in there. There's some weird stuff that we post from time to time, some funny stuff. We got our Doomsday Wheel of Misfortune, where you can run scenarios. It's still pinned at the top of our page in Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance. Go play with that. It's a fun tool. Shane built that.
So yeah, remember the idea is to spin at least 2 or 3 times and combine those disasters, those events together, and think about that scenario. Instead of just otherwise clicking at once, oh, this happened. No, you stack them and see how you would fare in that event.
It's turning an uh-oh into an oh no, right? That's the goal, is make it as challenging for yourself as possible, then brainstorm, how am I going to get out of this, or how am I going to be okay through this? But guys, also make sure you guys check out our friends over at Jase Medical. Having emergency antibiotics is key. Check out Jase Medical, JASE medical.com, and use the code PrepperTalk to save $10 at checkout. They have a huge sale coming up, already started this month. Instead of running just a Memorial Day sale, a lot of places are running summer sales starting at Memorial Day. So also, another thing we're doing is, if you haven't paid attention to our group, if you haven't seen my other posts, Shane, you know what this is?
It's a giveaway pack.
It's one of the giveaway packs. We're doing a contest. Help you get your emergency communications dialed in. We're doing a ham radio contest. We've got a bunch of people in the group that have already committed to this. I'm giving away 2 of these tactical bags with Prepper Talk Radio swag and a Baofeng UV5R included.
Sweet.
It's yours for the taking, guys. The first people to get their test, show us where you are, where you're taking your test. Like, let us know the info, get in the group, communicate with us. And once you've got yours, the first 2 people that post are going to get one of these. So, and if you don't have any ham radio licensing, you start with your technician. If you've got your technician, go for your general. If you got your general, go for your amateur extra. Like, there's a place for almost everybody. If you're already at your amateur extra, then help coach us and teach us. right? And if you don't want to get in that group for that reason, there's so many other reasons to be in there. We'd love to have you. I want to thank everyone who has participated tonight. We've gotten some great feedback, great content. Make sure you smash that like button, share this with everyone you know, especially those who are concerned about preparedness and don't know where to start. This community, your community, is where we can help them. We can make a huge impact, but not if we stay quiet. So get loud, get
rowdy.
out there, get rowdy, and most importantly, get ready. Thanks for tuning in this week and not tuning out. Don't forget to keep that head on a swivel and that belly full as your pantry. Have a great night, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.